The day I was murdered, my husband was with his first love. They hugged, kissed, rekindled their old flame, and got married soon after I died. For 10 years, only the lead detective on the case couldn't sleep at night. When he successfully caught the killer, he was interviewed. He stayed silent for a long time and finally said, "The victim. She was the one I loved the most." The media went wild. When I woke up again, I was 20 years old, and he was still the cool, handsome student at the police academy. I tried to climb over the wall but got caught. "What are you doing?" I jolted. I am here to confess my love." "Sarah, wake up, you're going to be late for your date." My roommate shook me awake, and I was still thinking about the scene of John being interviewed. "Ryan has called you several times already." I was stunned for a moment. This seemed like the day I went on my first date with Ryan when I was 20. The phone rang again. It was Ryan. "Sarah, what are you doing?" "Not answering your phone. I thought you were dead." A sharp memory, like a blade cutting my throat, came to mind. "Why aren't you talking? Are you mute?" He was always rude to me. If he hadn't just broken up with his first love, I wouldn't have had a chance to date him. Back then, I was infatuated with my childhood crush, Ryan. I lowered myself to the dirt, licking his boots, just to marry him. I thought I had finally made it. But on the day I died on the street, he rekindled his old flame and quickly remarried after my death. Seeing that I still didn't respond, Ryan sneered and hung up. I sneered back. Given a second chance, I wouldn't make the same mistakes again. I sat up suddenly. Back then, it was because of my date with Ryan that I got to know his classmate at the police academy, John. If I didn't go to this date now, would I miss my chance to meet John? In my past life, John was the only one who truly loved me. I couldn't miss out again. I got out of bed, left our medical school, and ran over to the neighboring police academy. The police academy had a closed management system. I needed a student to bring me in. I called Ryan several times, but he didn't pick up any of them. Missing this chance, who knew when I'd get to meet John? I paced outside the wall and looked up to see an iron fence. It was shorter here than elsewhere. Without much thought, I rolled up my sleeves and started climbing. Just as I was about to jump off the wall, a loud voice shouted from behind, "What are you doing?" I froze and looked back. A group of tall boys, all in black short sleeves and crew cuts, stood behind me. The one in front had a high nose and piercing eyes, staring right at me. My breath caught. In my past life, after catching the killer, he faced the camera in his police uniform and stayed silent for a long time. Even though he was only in his 30s, his hair was already graying. Finally, he opened his mouth and said something that shocked everyone. The victim, she was the one I loved the most. And now, here he was, frowning at me. I jumped down from the wall, fumbling under his gaze. Without thinking, I blurted out what was in my heart. "I am here to confess." As soon as I spoke, the boys behind him laughed. "Confess to who?" "I recognize her. Isn't she Ryan's childhood friend?" "Quiet." John interrupted them and looked at me. "Take her to the security office." "But I am here to confess to you." Everyone fell silent for a few seconds, then the place exploded. But I still ended up in the security office. A patrolling teacher had seen me. "Speak clearly, how did you get in, and why are you here?" The teacher, in his police uniform, looked at me sternly. "Sorry, sir, I was too nervous to speak." The teacher frowned. "Which school are you from? ID number?" "I'll contact your school." John, who had been standing at the door, pushed it open. "Sir, she's my friend. She couldn't reach me, so she got in on her own. I'll accept any punishment." He took all the blame himself. I hurried to deny. "No, it's me." John reached out, pushing me aside. The teacher's eyes moved between the two of us. "John, you're an excellent student here at the police academy. Even if you're in a relationship, you've got to handle it properly." He didn't deny it immediately. "Understood. I'll go report to my captain." "All right." The teacher turned away to drink tea while John quickly dragged me out by the neck. Once we were out the gate, he let go. As he turned to leave, I grabbed him. He looked down at me, frowning. If you don't let go, explain yourself to the security office. I instantly let go. John, I came to. No thanks. I was stunned. First, I don't know you. Second, we have no connection. Third, he paused. The person I like wouldn't need to confess their love first. Then he turned and left. I stood there, frozen. He was right. Right now, we were just strangers. I suddenly remembered everything from my past life. My interactions with John were all intertwined with my complicated love saga with Ryan. Back then, I saw John as a silent, serious, no-nonsense tough guy. Compared to Ryan's lean frame, John was muscular, tall, had tan skin, and loved black clothes. Later, he and Ryan both joined the police force. John became Ryan's captain, and we still just nodded to each other. The turning point came during a hospital stay. I was already working at the hospital, and John got injured on duty and was admitted there. To curry favor with Ryan's boss, I brought homemade food for John every day and paid close attention to his recovery. I ended up chatting with him every day. For 2 months straight, rain or shine. Back then, my heart was completely devoted to Ryan, so I didn't care about any other guys. Naturally, I didn't know that these caring gestures touched the inexperienced John. But not long after, I told him, I like Ryan. In this life, all I wanted was for him to reciprocate my feelings. He stayed silent for a long time. If I liked someone, I wouldn't make her confess her feelings first. I didn't notice the sadness in his eyes. I only knew that from then on, whenever Ryan treated me badly, John would step in and sternly tell him off, not caring if it was overstepping. I thought he saw me as a friend. But on the day Ryan and I got married, he didn't show up. Then, I met a tragic end in the streets. My husband, also a detective, rekindled his love with his first flame, quit his job, and traveled the world with her. Only John couldn't sleep night and day. He found commonalities in other cases, combined them, and finally caught the killer. My soul wandered the world for 10 years. My last memory was John accepting an interview and expressing his feelings for me. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to being 20. Everything was still possible. But now, eager to express my feelings to him, things backfired and went wrong. In the evening, I tossed and turned in bed. Ryan called again. Sarah, I'm drunk at the karaoke. Can you come pick me up? His voice was weak and pitiful, nothing like his mean streak during the day. I froze, suddenly recalling a similar event from my past life. He tricked me, saying he was drunk and needed a ride. Anxious, I got there in my pajamas, only to find him perfectly fine, laughing and telling his friends, "See, I told you she'd drop everything and come." I stood at the door, like a dog for people to gawk at, without any dignity. Why did this trick happen ahead of time now? As I was puzzling over it, I suddenly heard someone on the other end saying, "She even confessed to John today." Making Ryan call her wasn't hitting John in the face, was it? What do you say, John? My heart skipped a beat. John was there too. The refusal hovered on my lips, but instead, I twisted a smile. Sure, wait for me. Ryan's tone brightened. Great. After hanging up, I dialed another number from memory. A deep male voice answered. I'm the girl who confessed to you today. My name is Sarah. Without waiting for his response, I continued, now you know me, and we'll start crossing paths. Are you drunk now? What? I could almost see John's frowning face. I chuckled, drink more. I'll come pick you up. Hanging up, I didn't even change clothes and headed to the karaoke by taxi. Following Ryan's location pin, I stopped outside a private room, took a deep breath, and pushed open the door. The noisy crowd fell silent, and then someone laughed. Less than half an hour, Ryan. Impressive. I owe you one. Just like before, they mocked me for coming at his call. But this time, in a dark corner of the room sat a tall figure, calmly holding a drink. I grabbed a bottle and walked to Ryan without emotion. His expression changed. Sarah, what are you doing? Tricking me? He sneered. I didn't force you. You came on your own. He looked at the bottle in my hand. What, you want revenge? We're both willing, why make it so ugly? I chuckled, slowly putting down the bottle. Don't flatter yourself, Ryan, I am here to pick up someone else. His face stiffened, then he sneered, these are all my friends. Who do you know? You want to save face, say something plausible. The crowd laughed with him. At that moment, the figure in the darkness stood up. The room went silent in an instant. Someone softly called, John. He walked slowly to me, lifted his eyelids and glanced at Ryan, then turned to me, let's go. As the door closed, I heard a bottle shatter and people desperately pulling Ryan away to cool him down. Following John, I stepped out of the karaoke. The city had entered autumn. After a rain, the night breeze felt biting cold. I unknowingly shrank my neck. At an intersection, the figure in front suddenly stopped. I almost ran into him. Under the streetlight, John looked down at me, his features deep in the shadows. Sarah. This makes me uncomfortable, I froze, quickly grasping his point. He didn't like my forwardness. Frustration surged. Despite living another life, I still lacked rationality in dealing with emotions. Acting on impulse, I made mistakes. After saying this, John put his hands in his pockets and strode forward. But our schools were next to each other, and there was only one way back. I had no choice but to trail behind him, keeping a considerable distance. At a corner, someone suddenly bumped into me, almost knocking me down but hurriedly left without an apology. What's wrong? A familiar scent hit, freezing me. Incense from a temple mixed with wild grass after rain. In my past life, someone with that scent dragged me into a dark alley at night. He held a knife to my neck from behind, whispering sinisterly, "You're too much of a hindrance." I jolted awake, but the person had disappeared. I looked at the dark alley nearby. It was long and pitch black. Fear crept from my spine to my scalp, numbing it. I ran to John and grabbed him. John. He seemed to have run out of patience, frowning as he looked at me. What do you want? Maybe my terrified expression was too intense. John hesitated. I pulled him towards the dark alley. Someone's in trouble there. Did you see? I didn't, but I'm sure someone is. He stopped me. Sarah, using this excuse is pointless. I shook my head desperately, almost tearing up. Believe me, I swear. If there's nothing, I'll never bother you again. He was obviously wavering. After a while, he finally decided to go in with me. Entering the dark alley, puddles from the rain were everywhere. Using the phone's light, we moved cautiously. The walls on either side were covered in moss, and nothing else seemed there. Did I guess wrong? I looked at John, his expression growing more solemn. Maybe we should head back? I suggested. He suddenly moved deeper into the alley, revealing a hidden path. And there, deep inside, lay a woman covered in blood. I quickly ran forward and checked her carotid artery. She still had a pulse. There was a wound on her chest, bleeding profusely. She's still alive, call an ambulance. After saying that, I took off my jacket, pressed it on her wound, and tried to stop the bleeding. Soon, the sound of sirens pierced the night. The injured woman was rushed to the hospital. After emergency treatment, she was out of danger. John and I went to the police station to make a statement. Both in my past life and now, I couldn't see the attacker's face clearly. In my past life, at John's press conference about hunting down the perpetrator, I was reborn before I learned the attacker's identity. So, besides providing the man's peculiar scent, I had no clues. As we walked out of the police station, John couldn't help but ask, "How did you know someone was hurt there?" "Just a hunch." I tried to change the subject. "How did you know there was a small path behind the alley?" "I smelled blood." We both fell silent. After a moment, he broke the silence. "Sorry, I shouldn't have doubted you." I scratched my head. "It's normal to doubt me after what you heard." Things got quiet again. We walked side by side for a bit before he spoke again. "Sarah, you're not quite like I imagined." Taken aback, I joked, "Is that better or worse?" He stayed silent. "If you don't say anything, I'll assume it's better." The night wind rustled the fallen leaves. Eventually, he looked up. "I'll walk you home." News of the violent attack quickly spread. Everyone in the college town was on edge. As I walked out of the lab building, I noticed, from afar, a figure in a white dress. I froze, a chill running through me from head to toe. It was Bella, Ryan's first love that he couldn't forget. She was also the one with whom Ryan was kissing when I died tragically on the street. To win Ryan's love, I once tried everything to mimic Bella, copying her expressions, her style. She applied to medical school, and I followed, just to be closer to Ryan. Now it all seems so pathetic and laughable. I still remember when my soul floated next to them. They were in the hotel, together. She asked him, "Aren't you afraid your wife will find out?" "She loves me to death, absolutely impossible." "Even if she did, so what?" "Yeah, even if she finds out, she loves you enough to forgive you with tears." They smiled with contempt. Even though my heart had stopped, I felt a tearing pain in my chest. I screamed and wailed, but they couldn't hear me. After my death, Ryan pretended to be sad for a bit. Before the funeral was even over, he moved in with Bella. He even quit his police job for her when, "Sarah." A voice broke my thoughts. Bella walked towards me. "I heard you went to Ryan's party at the KTV the other day." I wasn't surprised she knew. She always had feelings for Ryan. Their breakup had been out of pride and stubbornness. Since I was his childhood friend and had always liked him, she naturally paid close attention to me. I didn't want to explain much. He probably couldn't find anyone else to go with him. She misunderstood and tried to prove something to me. We broke up, but he kept messaging me and sending letters. When a man is deeply in love, it's hard to resist. I looked at her expressionlessly. "Really?" "Yeah." She tried to hide a triumphant smile. I struggled for a long time but decided to give him another chance. She pointed outside the school gate. "We're meeting in the city center today." I frowned, but today isn't a day off, right? On non-holidays, cadets can't leave campus. She boasted. As soon as he heard I was willing to meet, he immediately asked for leave. Her attitude implied she was more important to him than I was. I smirked. So much for grand love. Well, have fun. Just as I turned to leave, Bella suddenly looked into the distance. "Ryan, I'm here." I turned back to see Ryan. He was surprised, clearly not expecting me. Since John and I left that day, Ryan had bombarded me with messages, questioning our relationship. I didn't reply to any of them. Finally fed up, I blocked him. Seeing him now, it was clear he wanted to confront me about the block, but held back because of Bella. I maintained a nonchalant demeanor throughout. Bella didn't see my expected frustration, nor did Ryan see my usual longing. They were both clearly surprised. I raised my chin and turned away. Later that night, I got a call. "Is this Sarah?" "Yes, who's this?" A voice replied excitedly, "I'm the mother of the girl you saved. Do you have time tonight? I want to treat you to dinner to express my gratitude in person." "No need, it's what I should have done. If it's inconvenient for you, I can come to your school. Is that okay?" The girl's mother was too kind. But if she came to the school, my ability to save people by scent would become widely known. That would make it harder to identify the culprit next time. So I agreed to meet, but added, "Actually, the main credit for saving your daughter goes to a friend of mine named John. You should invite him first. If he goes, I'll check with him. If he agrees, you must come too." "Okay." After hanging up, I smirked. I really gave that lady an impossible task. Since it wasn't a day off, John, a police cadet, couldn't leave the school. Knowing him, he wouldn't casually take leave like Ryan. Busy until the evening, my phone buzzed. It was a text message. When I saw who the message was from, my heart skipped a beat. "I'm at your school gate." I slowly typed out a question mark. The reply came in an instant, leaving in 5 minutes. I jogged to the school gate, and from a distance, I saw John standing under a streetlight. He was dressed in black from head to toe, looking strong and upright. Breathlessly, I asked, "Where are we headed?" With a puzzled look, he said, "Didn't that girl's mother invite you?" I didn't agree to go. He fell silent. Slowly, I caught my breath again. "Did she tell you I'd go too?" He nodded in acknowledgement. He seemed unexpectedly pure, so I couldn't help but tease him. "So you took time off just for this? Worried about me walking alone at night?" He turned away. I chased after him. "I was just kidding. Don't be mad." The banquet was at a high-end restaurant. The girl's mother, with red-rimmed eyes, expressed her gratitude to us and offered many valuable gifts, which John and I both declined. After all, attending the banquet was just fulfilling a mother's wish. On our way back, John discussed the case with me. According to that lady, her daughter didn't have any enemies, so the perpetrator likely chose her at random. I nodded, agreeing with him. He continued, "You said the suspect came out of the alley and walked in the opposite direction from us. Assuming he's the killer wanting to avoid surveillance, he has two choices, either head to a more secluded area or blend into a crowded place. I remember there's a side gate to your second campus in that direction." I was taken aback. "You mean he might be a student at our school?" "It's possible," he said. We exchanged looks, and from each other's eyes, we understood the same idea. At the scene of the incident, we walked along the path the culprit might have taken towards the second campus side gate. Along the way, it was easy to evade the surveillance if intentional, and blend in with the students at the school gate. John and I stopped by the roadside, both looking serious. If the perpetrator was indeed a student, the consequences could be dire. I looked around for the nearest surveillance but accidentally stepped back and lost my footing. I started to fall backward. A strong hand swiftly caught my waist and steadied me forward. I fell into a firm embrace. The faint scent of sweat mixed with strong pheromones filled my nose, making my ears burn instantly. I raised my hand to gently push away, but then a voice bellowed from behind, "What are you guys doing?" John and I turned around simultaneously. Ryan was not far away. Looking furious. Behind him was Bella, looking grim. The arm supporting my waist suddenly tightened. I instinctively looked up, and John coldly asked, "What's it to you?" Ryan got even angrier. "John, she's my childhood sister. Now you're getting handsy with her. You think this isn't my business? A childhood sister can't date?" Hearing this usually serious guy talk about dating made my heart skip a beat. Ryan's face twisted with anger, approaching and grabbing my wrist, "Come with me." But John easily pushed him away. The two glared at each other, the tension thick in the air. Just then, Bella gave a sudden yelp and collapsed to the ground. Ryan snapped out of it and quickly turned around. "What happened?" She tearfully said, "I twisted my ankle. I'll carry you to the hospital." "Okay." The absurd drama ended with Bella on Ryan's back, shooting me a vengeful look. Once calm returned, John let go. "Are you all right?" I shook my head. The air became quiet again. I wanted to ask what he meant by dating earlier, but after trying for a long time, I didn't bring it up. It might just be his way of not tolerating Ryan and siding with me. Revealing it now would only make things awkward. John suddenly spoke. "Earlier? Thank you for trying to help me." He paused briefly. "No problem." Time passed, and the violent incident gradually faded, and the campus returned to its usual calm. Since that night, John and I kept in touch, but our conversations were mostly about case developments. It was rare to talk normally, so I didn't dare to be as forward as before. From past experiences, he seemed to prefer a slow, steady build-up of feelings. Meanwhile, Ryan, possibly dissatisfied with my sudden change in behavior, kept reaching out to me using different numbers and even sent apologies through mutual friends. I treated all of it as junk and threw them away. What he didn't know was that whenever he contacted Bella, she'd flaunt it in my face. So he wasn't genuinely remorseful, just upset that his longtime infatuation was now losing interest. I left all that behind and focused on building a relationship with Captain. At noon, I went to the cafeteria and saw Bella again. But this time, a different guy was by her side, diligently attending to her. I narrowed my eyes, finding him somewhat familiar. After some thought, I remembered his name. Jack, Bella's college admirer. My memory of him was faint, but I remembered his name because it was the same as a classmate from elementary school. But I recall that Bella didn't give him a chance before. Why were they eating together now? Regardless, it had nothing to do with me. I took one glance and resumed my lunch. But Bella noticed me. She took her tray and purposefully sat next to me. Sarah, what a coincidence. I forced a smile. It's the school's only cafeteria, so yeah. Then Jack joined, taking a seat next to me. As he passed by, my hand holding the chopstick suddenly stiffened. It was that familiar scent. The smell of temple incense and grass. Mixed with the aroma of cafeteria food, it was hardly noticeable, but that scent was etched into my bones, unforgettable. I pretended to be calm as I looked at the guy in front of me. He slouched his shoulders, wore glasses, and his slightly long bangs covered his eyebrows, making it hard to read his expression. But I could feel his affection for Bella. In a flash, I suddenly remembered what the killer had said to me before I died. You're too much of a nuisance. I had thought about all the people around me who might say that. But I never expected it from him, since we had no interaction. The reason he found me bothersome was just because I was in the way of his goddess's pursuit of love. Thinking of this made my back go cold and a fire ignited in my heart. Was my mere existence annoying enough to make me need to disappear from this world for those two scumbags? Why are you shaking? Bella suddenly asked. I snapped back to reality, realizing my fingers had been trembling. Nothing, I said, losing my appetite and picking up my tray to leave. Bella stood up and followed me. Without Jack around, she immediately showed her true colors. Sarah, don't think you're the only one who can play these kinds of tricks. I was taken aback. What? Keeping a backup guy, deliberately making Ryan jealous, directing all his attention towards you. So, you gave Jack a chance just to make Ryan jealous? Exactly. I felt a cold sneer inside. Did she even realize what a stupid thing she was doing? Using a murderer as a backup. How could she? Do you even know what kind of person Jack is? She was taken aback. What kind of person he is has nothing to do with you. You're right. It doesn't concern me. I'm just being kind and reminding you, be careful you don't get burned. She sneered. Sarah, don't think I don't see through your intentions. You're saying this just to make me back off. Rest assured, for every backup guy you keep, I'll do the same. My mouth tightened. Please, stop calling him a backup. John and I are clean, unlike you with your dirty thoughts. After saying that, I glanced at Jack, who was looking over, then turned and left. You can't reason with unreasonable people. Everyone has their own fate. How she ends up has nothing to do with me. But the criminal must be punished. I won't let him get away. I took out my phone and messaged John. I think I found the criminal. John and I met at a cafe. It was the weekend, and the place was filled with dating couples. Before we even got our coffee, a couple at the next table was already making out. I felt all sorts of awkwardness, unable to sit tight. John, however, seemed completely unbothered, focusing on discussing the case with me. So you identified the killer just by the smell? Although the scent was faint, I caught it instantly. But the victim girl didn't mention any distinct smell when she woke up. Are you sure you didn't mistake it? I shook my head vigorously. No way. As soon as I said that, people around us started looking our way. I realized my voice had been quite loud due to agitation. But, I could never forget the scent I smelled before I died in my past life. However, just going by the smell without evidence was hard to convince people. John stared at me. When I thought even he didn't believe me, he suddenly said, "Let's investigate Jack first." I was taken aback. You believe me? He responded naturally, why wouldn't I? I stared at him, speechless. So this is what it feels like to be trusted. In my past life, I never experienced this from Ryan. At that moment, John suddenly put his hand on my shoulder and turned me halfway around. I looked up, confused, and saw his ears turning red. From behind, I heard the intimate sound of kissing, and I understood his actions. So he really hadn't seen it earlier. I deliberately asked, "What's wrong?" "Nothing." "Is there something behind us you shouldn't look at?" "No, but I think I heard kissing noises." John's ears reddened more, and his gaze had a touch of undetectable annoyance. Feigning ignorance, I pressed, "Have you never kissed before? As it turns out, you should quit while you're ahead." A perfectly good date, I ruined with my big mouth. Fortunately, John still remembered our promise. Despite lacking evidence, we started investigating Jack. During the investigation, I was surprised to find out that Jack believed in Buddhism. Besides fawning over Bella, he didn't have any particular hobbies. He would just sit on the lawn and daydream whenever he had free time. These discoveries thrilled me, because it explained why he had the scent of incense and grass on him. But scent can't serve as evidence. We needed more supporting facts. This case left no biological evidence, and there were no surveillance tapes at the police station. If we reported it to the cops now, it would only alert the killer. So I decided to observe him secretly, hoping to find some clues, but Bella noticed my actions. She thought I was going to reveal her true intentions to Jack, so she tried desperately to stop me. "Sarah, don't think telling Jack nonsense will change his feelings for me. He's much more devoted than you think." I found it puzzling. "You think stringing Jack along will make Ryan care more about you?" Her eyes lit up. "Let me tell you, Ryan cherishes me so much now. You pretended to advise me about Jack, but I see through it. Jack is just a way to make Ryan value me more." "Sarah, you should know since you did this yourself, right?" I honestly didn't think she believed I was trying to prevent her from keeping a backup guy. And I didn't expect this trick to work on Ryan. Speaking of which, Ryan hadn't bothered me recently. It seemed Bella completely held his attention. I enjoyed the peace. Thinking this, I gave Bella a look of deep sympathy. The men entangled with her, one was a cold-blooded killer, the other, a heartless jerk who cared only about competition. What a pity. "What kind of look is that?" Bella asked. "Nothing, just thought you looked pretty good today," I said. Then I turned and left. "Take care of yourself." The investigation into Jack was still ongoing. Every night, I discussed his motives and movements with John over the phone. We were searching for any clues that could serve as evidence. Another weekend came, and I met John at the cafe again. It started pouring outside. I grabbed an umbrella and headed out. But before I could leave the campus, I ran into Bella. She looked a bit worn out. I was planning to ignore her, but she approached me. "Sarah." I stopped. "What's up?" She bit her lip, looking hesitant. "Did you know something about Jack?" I froze. "What?" She hesitated for a long moment before speaking. "I saw Jack's diary. He seems..." "Diary?" My heart skipped a beat. If there was something in it, couldn't it be used as evidence? "What kind of diary?" I asked. "He drew lots of stick figures and wrote 'kill, kill, kill' all over it." My excitement cooled down a bit. If it wasn't written evidence, it might be hard to use it in court. But at least it showed Jack still had many secrets we didn't know. "Did you see anything else?" "No." "All right, I gotta go." "Sarah." She called after me again. "Are you hiding something from me? I know we have our differences, but we can't joke about life and death. Let's bury the hatchet, and you can tell me everything you know." I couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Why should I bury the hatchet with you? And why should I tell you everything I know? Because your secret crush killed me? The questions, dripped in blood, stabbed at every nerve in me. I didn't want to deal with her anymore, so I turned away. On my way to the meeting, I texted John. "Almost there, 10 minutes." Just after sending the message, a pair of hands covered my mouth and nose, and in seconds, I lost consciousness when I came to. I was in an unfinished, abandoned building. My hands and feet were bound, and my mouth was taped shut. Standing in front of me was a fully armed man, showing only his eyes. But I recognized him immediately. It was Jack. "What did you tell Bella?" he asked. Realizing my mouth was taped, he paused and pulled out a knife. "Scream, and I'll stab you." The rain was deafening outside. Even if I screamed, no one would hear. He tore off the tape. "What do you mean?" I asked, confused. "Did you badmouth Jack to her?" He suddenly stopped, seeming to realize he had revealed his identity. He ripped off his mask and screamed, "Bitch, did you badmouth me to her?" The knife pressed against my skin. The nightmare of being stabbed flooded back, choking me as I frantically shook my head. "Then why is she suddenly distant? You've been watching me closely. Tell me, did you find something and tell her?" In a flash, a plan formed in my Mindy would never badmouth Jack to Bella because the boy I likes her. "If she's with you, I can be with that boy. You can ask around. It's true. That boy is Ryan, my childhood friend. I've liked him for years." Desperately trying to make him believe, I explained frantically. Slowly, he seemed to calm down. "I know Ryan," he murmured, "he's her favorite. So you should understand. We're on the same side. If Ryan and I are together, you can be with Bella, right?" After the intense fear, I found a strange calm. I slowly coaxed him. "You should let me go now, and we can work together to break them up." That seemed to strike a chord in Jack. He suddenly stood up and ran outside, but he didn't untie my bonds. I was stunned for 2 seconds and then tried to break free from the ropes. Afraid he hadn't gone far, I didn't dare make a sound. But the knots were intricate, and I couldn't break free. Just then, someone touched me from behind. I jumped in fright but then saw it was John. My heart, which had been hanging by a thread, suddenly felt a sense of relief. Tears stung my eyes. "How did you find me?" "I'll explain later." He bent down to untie me. Then, we heard footsteps approaching again. John and I exchanged glances, and he hid just inside the doorway. I immediately understood his plan. When Jack approached, I'd tackle him from behind. But this time, Jack stood outside the door, not coming in. Did he realize something was up? As my mind raced, he spoke up. "I'm sorry, I can't let you go. If only we had talked before I tied you up, we could have been allies. But now, I've kidnapped you, and you know my secret. If you get out, you might call the cops, so I can't let you go." With that, he approached step by step, knife in hand. I looked at him in terror, shaking my head desperately, trying to draw all his attention. Just as he stepped through the door, John lunged forward, pinning him to the ground. Using his larger size, John tried to wrest the knife from Jack, but just then, Jack twisted desperately. "Watch out!" I yelled. The knife slashed across John's hand, flying 10 feet away. Taking advantage of John's pain, Jack broke free and bolted. John cursed under his breath and, ignoring the blood on his hand, picked up the knife and cut the ropes binding me. I tore a piece of fabric from my clothes to bandage his wound, and we left the place together to call the police. Now, even without evidence for the previous assault case, Jack would get arrested for kidnapping me. As we left the abandoned building, I asked, "How did you find this place?" "You told me to wait for 10 minutes, but I waited 15. I went looking for you and found your phone on the way. I knew you might have been kidnapped, and the likely culprit was Jack. He has no properties around here and no means of transport. Kidnapping an adult, he could only hide in the nearby abandoned buildings, so I came here." Smart, thorough, definitely someone fit to be a police captain. Jack ran away. "Do you think he'll hurt anyone else?" I had already contacted the police before coming here. He's probably been arrested by now. Despite that, when we went to the nearest campus clinic to wrap our wounds, we heard news of someone threatening to jump off a building. We exchanged a look and immediately started running. There was already a crowd of students gathered below the teaching building. I looked up and saw Jack standing on the rooftop. Driven to the edge, it's not surprising he thought of jumping to end it all. But he was holding Bella, who was trembling. Jack was yelling something, and when I listened closely, it sounded like he was insisting Bella jump with him. The police arrived, along with Ryan. After explaining the situation to the officers, they began devising a plan. One team would keep Jack calm from the front, while another team with firefighters would go around back to rescue the hostage. Jack seemed to sense the police's intentions as they got closer. He pulled out a knife and pressed it against Bella's neck. Nobody expected he had another knife. The plan had to change on the fly. "Call Ryan over," Jack shouted. The police had no choice but to bring Ryan to negotiate. But Ryan clearly wasn't willing. He kept a very safe distance. "Ryan," Jack called, "don't you love her? I'm giving you a chance. Come be my hostage, and I'll let her go." "Ryan, save me," Bella cried continuously, but Ryan acted as if he didn't hear her, staying frozen with fear. The knife at Bella's neck pressed deeper, drawing blood, but Ryan wouldn't move. The crowd below started to voice their frustrations. Isn't he a police academy student? He should have more courage. His girlfriend's life is in danger, and he's just standing there. The police gestured for the crowd to stay quiet, but everyone was still seething inside. Jack completely lost his patience. He dragged Bella closer and closer to Ryan. The police signaled for Ryan to keep Jack calm, but Bella had reached her limit. Sobbing, she yelled, "Ryan, don't you love me? Why do you ignore my life and death? Can't you say one comforting word to me?" Ryan remained silent. In that instant, something nobody expected happened. Bella broke free from Jack and jumped off the rooftop. Jack went berserk after seeing his goddess fall. He grabbed the knife and rushed at Ryan. With a thud, screams erupted from all around. John covered my eyes. Bella didn't die because debris broke her fall. But the impact injured her spine, leaving her bound to a wheelchair for life. Ryan, stabbed multiple times, suffered fatal wounds and didn't survive. When I heard of his death, it felt surreal. In my past life, when I found him cheating, I wished he'd die instantly. Now that it happened, there was no satisfaction. Jack, found guilty of robbery, murder, and kidnapping, faced the death penalty. John's hand had almost recovered. I accompanied him to the hospital to remove his stitches. As we waited in the hall, sunlight streamed in, bathing his profile in a warm glow. For a moment, it felt like I was back in the past, chatting with him at the hospital. Back then, I never thought missing this man would be my greatest regret. So, I started to speak, "John." He turned his head, his face in the sunlight matching my memories. "Do you remember what I said to you when we first met?" He stayed silent. As I was about to repeat it, he suddenly spoke, "I came to confess to you." I laughed, "Exactly. No, I'm not repeating your words, that's what I wanted to say to you." He said each word clearly, "Sarah, I came to confess to you." I found myself speechless, my cheeks flushing hot. This usually serious, stern man could say something like that. As I stood there, flustered, he leaned in slowly, his tough features softening with a smile. "Do you accept my confession?" he asked. I do." He abruptly pulled me into his arms, whispering in my ear, "You asked if I've never kissed anyone, right?" My ear tingled, and my cheeks felt like they would explode. He breathed teasingly, "The answer is no. So, do you want to try with me?" I couldn't stand it anymore and buried my face in his chest, pounding his muscles. Laughing, he grabbed my hand. "All right, I won't tease you. We have plenty of time in the future." After getting his stitches out, we walked out of the hospital into the setting sun. He walked beside me, gently holding me. Suddenly, he asked, "Why were you climbing the wall to get into our school back then?" "To confess to you." "You coincidentally met me?" "Yep, just like that." We shared a smile and kissed each other under the sunset. In this life, I finally got my wish.